The silver ships appeared suddenly in Earth's sky one Tuesday morning. They hung above major cities, silent and watching. Scientists tried to make contact for 3 days before the aliens responded. On the 4th day, a message came to every screen on Earth. The alien called itself Ambassador Tail of the Galactic Concorde. It looked almost human but with blue skin and eyes too large for its face. "We have been observing your planet," Tail said. "The Concorde has catalogued Earth as a Level 2 civilization. You are not yet ready for full galactic membership." World leaders gathered at the United Nations for an emergency meeting. President Choi of the United States stood at the podium. "We must respond with one voice," she said. "This is not about one nation anymore. This is about humanity." Dr. Kim from the International Space Agency brought his data. "Their ships use technology we can barely understand. But they are not gods. They are just very advanced." The UN sent a message to the Concorde ships. "We welcome peaceful contact and wish to learn from the galactic community." Ambassador Tail's response came quickly. "Your species will be monitored. Mars has valuable resources the Concorde requires. Your small outposts there will be removed." On Mars, 30 researchers at Research Station Alpha watched the alien ships approach. Dr. Bay, the station leader, sent urgent messages to Earth. Unknown vessels orbiting Mars. They are not responding to communication attempts. The last transmission from Mars came from Dr. Bay. "They're landing. Multiple ships. The signal cut off." For 3 days, Earth heard nothing from Mars. Then Ambassador Tail sent another message. The primitive human structures on Mars interfered with Concorde operations. They have been removed. This matter is not open for discussion. Satellite images showed only rubble where Research Station Alpha had stood. All 30 researchers were dead. General Lee of the United States Space Force slammed his fist on the table during the Emergency Council meeting. "This is an act of war. We cannot fight them," said Minister Park of South Korea. "Their technology is too advanced." "But we cannot do nothing," replied General Lee. President Choi addressed the world that evening. Her face was serious as she looked into the camera. "Today, we have witnessed the cruel indifference of the Galactic Concorde. They have destroyed our Mars station and killed 30 of our brightest minds without warning or mercy. They believe we are primitive. They believe we are weak." She paused, her expression determined. "We have attempted diplomatic solutions. We have offered friendship. In return, they have shown contempt for human life. Let me be clear to the watching Concorde, Earth is our home. Humanity will not bow to bullies, whether they come from neighboring countries or distant stars." The next day, Earth sent a unified message to the Concorde. The destruction of Mars Research Station Alpha was an unprovoked attack against peaceful researchers. Earth demands reparations and recognition of human territorial rights. Ambassador Tail's response was brief. "Your species lacks standing to make demands. The Concorde acknowledges your protest but finds it irrelevant." For weeks, the alien ships continued to orbit Earth, scanning and watching. Nations began sharing military technology and scientific research like never before. Dr. Joe, working in a secret laboratory in Arizona, studied the few images they had of Concorde technology. "There's something about their energy signatures," she told her team. "I think there might be weaknesses we can exploit." Professor Yang from MIT joined the research effort. "Their communication patterns suggest they're highly structured and hierarchical. They may not adapt well to unexpected situations." 6 months after first contact, a new fleet appeared in Earth's orbit. These ships were different, darker, more aggressive in design. They moved into attack positions over major cities. "I am Commander Lyre of the Calvary," announced a harsh voice over global communications. "The Concorde has determined your species requires guidance. We will establish control zones for your benefit." President Choi called an emergency meeting with her generals. "What can we do against their weapons?" General Lee looked grim. "Conventional weapons will be useless. But we've been preparing some surprises. As the first Calvary ships descended toward Washington, D.C., invisible American stealth fighters rose to meet them. They carried experimental weapons designed based on Dr. Joe's research. No one expected the Americans to win. But they needed to show that humanity would not surrender without a fight. The battle for Earth had begun. The Calvary ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like angry hornets. They were smaller than the Concorde vessels, built for war with sharp angles and visible weapons. The first attack hit military bases in Asia. Seoul's defense systems went dark within minutes. Tokyo's radar stations stopped transmitting. Beijing's military command centers fell silent. General Han watched from the underground bunker as South Korea's most advanced fighter jets were swatted from the sky. The pilots never even saw what hit them. "They're using some kind of energy weapon," he reported over the secure line. "Our electronics fail when targeted." In Europe, the pattern repeated. London, Paris, Berlin military capabilities neutralized with surgical precision. The Calvary avoided civilian targets, but power grids failed as collateral damage. Commander Lyre's message played on any device still working: "The Calvary bring order to your chaotic world. Resistance is unnecessary and wasteful. Accept our guidance." President Choi gathered her advisors in the White House bunker. "What are we facing?" Defense Secretary Kim showed satellite images. "They have ground troops landing in 12 major cities. Their soldiers wear full-body armor. Our bullets seem to bounce off." "And the Concorde? Are they stopping this?" "The Concorde issued one statement," said Secretary Kim. "They regret the Calvary's independent action but recognize their authority to establish order in undeveloped systems." President Choi's face hardened. "So we're on our own." The third day brought the first ground battles. Calvary troops moved with disturbing precision through city streets. They stood taller than humans, their movements fluid despite their heavy armor. In Chicago, police officer Lee fired his service weapon at an approaching alien. The bullets sparked against an invisible shield. The Calvary soldier turned, pointed a small device, and Officer Lee's weapon fell apart in his hands, the metal components separated as if by magic. "They don't even need to kill us," he reported later. "They just make our weapons useless." By the end of the first week, conventional military resistance had collapsed worldwide. The Calvary established administrative centers in captured cities. They began broadcasting messages about human improvement and necessary guidance. In the mountains of Colorado, Professor Yang worked with military scientists in a hardened facility designed to survive nuclear war. "The Calvary technology has patterns," she explained, pointing to sensor readings. "Their shields pulse at regular intervals. Their weapons follow precise sequences." General Kong looked skeptical. "How does that help us?" "They're too perfect," Professor Yang said. "Natural systems have variation. Their technology is vulnerable because it's too predictable." Meanwhile, in occupied cities, humans began noticing something strange about the invaders. The Calvary followed strict protocols. They never deviated from established patterns. When faced with unexpected situations, they often hesitated, waiting for instructions. In New York, street vendor Mr. Park discovered this by accident. When Calvary patrols passed his hot dog cart, he offered them food. The aliens stopped, seemingly confused by this interaction that wasn't in their invasion manual. This small discovery spread through whispered conversations and hidden messages. People began creating distractions in unexpected situations. The resistance had found its first advantage. In Washington, D.C., the Calvary commander established his headquarters in the Pentagon. He addressed captured military officers. "Your species will benefit from Calvary structure," he explained. "Your chaotic society creates inefficiency. We will correct this." Colonel Jean, a captured Air Force officer, asked the question everyone wanted answered: "Why are you doing this?" "We posed no threat to you." The commander's response was disturbing in its simplicity: "Resources. Your planet has them. The Calvary need them. Your species has not earned the right to negotiate their use. On day 12, the first successful counterattack happened. A small team of American Special Forces used modified electromagnetic pulse devices against a cavalry patrol in rural Virginia. The aliens' shields failed. Their armor systems shut down. For the first time, humans captured intact cavalry technology and a living alien soldier. Dr. Bay, one of the few scientists to escape the Mars Research Station massacre, examined the captive alien. Without its helmet, the cavalry looked surprisingly fragile: thin limbs, large head, skin pale from evolving under a distant sun. Their physical strength comes entirely from their technology, Dr. Bay reported. Without it, they're weaker than us. The captured cavalry refused to speak at first. Finally, it addressed its captors with surprising honesty. "You were supposed to surrender immediately," it said. "No Level 2 civilization has ever resisted cavalry pacification. This is not following established patterns." In her bunker, President Choi received the report from the successful operation. For the first time since the invasion began, she smiled. "Tell General Lee to scale up production of the EMP devices," she ordered. "And send this message to all remaining free territories: we have found their weakness." The real fight begins now. Dr. Bay stared at the captured cavalry shield generator. It was smaller than she expected, about the size of a dinner plate. Inside the underground bunker at Cheyenne Mountain, she and her team had been working around the clock to understand the alien technology. "It's beautiful," she whispered, examining the intricate patterns of unknown metals and crystals. "But it's also strangely rigid." General Cohn looked over her shoulder. "Can we break it?" "I think we can do better than that," Dr. Bay replied. "I think we can hack it." Across the country, Americans were fighting back in ways the cavalry never anticipated. The aliens had expected a traditional military response. They weren't prepared for American creativity. In occupied San Francisco, taxi driver Mr. Joe noticed the cavalry patrol patterns never changed. They passed his corner at exactly the same time every day. He started timing their movements, sharing the information through hidden messages written on takeout food containers. "They're like clockwork," he told the resistance cell meeting in his basement. "And anything that precise can be predicted." In Detroit, auto workers repurposed factory equipment to create improvised weapons. The cavalry had disabled all military-grade technology, but they overlooked simple mechanical devices. Ms. Yun, a former assembly line supervisor, led the effort. "We can't match their technology," she told her team. "But we know machines. We know how to build things that work." They created spring-loaded traps that could pierce the tiny gaps in cavalry armor, identified by careful observation of the aliens' movements. The most unexpected resistance came from America's teenagers. High school student June discovered that certain frequencies of sound disrupted cavalry communications. He and his friends used modified music equipment to create sonic disruptors that gave resistance fighters precious minutes to act while the aliens were confused. "They hate dubstep," June explained with a grin. "Turns out alien ears can't handle the bass drops." At a hidden military facility in Nevada, Dr. Bay's breakthrough came on day 27 of the occupation. She had been analyzing the regular pulse patterns of the cavalry shields when she noticed something crucial. "Their shields synchronize," she exclaimed. "Every shield in a patrol group operates on exactly the same frequency." General Kong frowned. "Why would they do that?" "Efficiency," Dr. Bay explained. "One control signal manages all shields in an area. It's elegant, but it creates a huge vulnerability." Within days, they had developed a device that could emit a precisely timed electromagnetic pulse. When activated, it would disrupt the shield synchronization, causing all cavalry defenses in the area to fail simultaneously. They called it Project Pebble, a small thing that could bring down a giant. The first test came in a small town in Nebraska. A resistance cell led by former police officer Mr. Moon waited until the daily cavalry patrol entered the main street. He activated the device from a hidden position. The effect was immediate. The aliens' shields flickered and died. Their weapons systems went dark. For a crucial 30 seconds, they were completely vulnerable. The resistance struck with simple weapons, baseball bats, hunting rifles, and improvised explosives. When it was over, 6 Calvari soldiers had been captured. News of the success spread through the resistance network. Project Pebble devices were manufactured in basements and garages across free America. The plans were simple enough that anyone with basic electronics knowledge could build one. Meanwhile, in her Washington bunker, President Choi received a surprising message. Silicon Valley programmers, working with captured Calvari communication devices, had begun to decrypt their battle language. Their commands are actually simple, explained the lead programmer, Ms. Jean. They use a mathematics-based language with very little variation. Once we understood the pattern, we could predict their orders before they gave them. This intelligence proved invaluable. Resistance cells could anticipate Calvari movements and prepare ambushes or evacuations. The Calvari were confused by the growing resistance. Their commander sent a message to the Concorde: human behavior does not match established patterns for Level 2 civilizations. Request guidance. The Concorde's response was brief: adapt your strategies. Complete your mission. But adaptation was not the Calvari's strength. Their rigid hierarchy and dependence on established protocols became their greatest weakness when facing American flexibility. In a captured Calvari command center in Chicago, resistance fighters discovered the aliens' central weakness. A recovered data file revealed that the Calvari had never faced serious resistance from a lesser species before. Their tactics were designed for overwhelming immediate victory, not prolonged conflict. They don't know how to fight a guerrilla war, General Kong told President Choi. And Americans wrote the book on it. By the end of the second month, the tide had begun to turn. Americans had shared their discoveries with resistance groups worldwide. The Calvari still held the major cities, but their control was slipping. President Choi met with her War Council. "It's time to take back our planet," she said. Operation Minuteman begins tomorrow. Operation Minuteman began at dawn. Across America, resistance fighters activated their Pebble devices at exactly the same time. In 57 cities, Calvari shields failed simultaneously. Their communications went silent. Their weapons stopped working. The resistance struck hard and fast. In Seattle, fishermen used harpoon guns against the suddenly vulnerable aliens. In Phoenix, construction workers attacked with heavy equipment. In Atlanta, college students used chemistry knowledge to create smoke that confused the Calvari breathing systems. Captain Park led the assault on the Chicago Command Center. His team moved silently through the early morning streets, carrying simple weapons that needed no electronics: crossbows, compound bows, and spears. "Remember, aim for the neck joints," he whispered to his team. "Their armor is weakest there." When the Pebble device activated, the Calvari guards froze in confusion. Their helmets went dark as internal displays failed. Captain Park's team struck before they could recover. Inside the command center, they found something unexpected: maps showing Calvari positions worldwide. Captain Park quickly photographed everything before setting charges to destroy the facility. The information spread rapidly through the global resistance network. American scientists had created secure communication systems using old-fashioned radio technology that the Calvari overlooked. "We're sharing everything," President Choi announced to Allied leaders. "The shield disruptors, the patrol patterns, the armor weaknesses. This is humanity's fight." In London, resistance fighters used the American plans to build their own Pebble devices. In Tokyo, they adapted the technology to work underwater, targeting Calvari ships in the harbor. In Rio de Janeiro, they mounted the devices on drones to hit the aliens from above. The Calvari commander was furious. He had never experienced defeat before, especially not from what his people considered a primitive species. "Increase patrols," he ordered. "Implement maximum control protocols." But his troops were stretched thin. They had expected to manage a subdued population, not fight a determined resistance. When they concentrated forces in one area, other regions seized the opportunity to strike. Dr. Bay made another breakthrough in the third month. Studying captured Calvari spacecraft, she discovered they used the same synchronized systems as their shields. Their entire fleet operates on linked frequencies, she explained to General Kong. If we can generate a large enough pulse at the right frequency, we could disable their ships in orbit, the general finished her thought. But we'd need something powerful. I have an idea, Dr. Bay said. But it's risky. Her plan involved repurposing nuclear power plants to generate a massive electromagnetic pulse. The science was sound, but one mistake could cause a meltdown. President Choi approved the plan. Begin preparations, but we need a distraction first. The distraction came in the form of Operation Liberty Bell. Simultaneous attacks on every Calvari administrative center worldwide. It wasn't meant to defeat them, just to keep them focused on the ground while Dr. Bay's team prepared the larger attack. In New York, the resistance made its boldest move. A team led by former bus driver Mr. June drove explosives-laden vehicles into the alien headquarters. The attack created chaos that allowed a special forces team to capture the regional Calvari commander. This was the first high-ranking officer taken alive. Under questioning, he revealed a critical weakness: the Calvari fleet remained in fixed positions above Earth, never expecting to need evasive maneuvers. Perfect targets, General Kong said when he heard the news. On day 120 of the occupation, Dr. Bay's team was ready. 3 nuclear power plants across America had been modified to create a synchronized pulse. The timing had to be perfect. President Choi addressed the nation through the Resistance Network. Today we show the Calvari and the Concorde that humanity will not be conquered. We fight not just for America, but for Earth. At exactly noon, the pulse fired. A wave of invisible energy swept upward into space. On screens across the world, people watched as Calvari ships suddenly went dark. Many began drifting out of position. Some fell toward Earth, burning up in the atmosphere. The Calvari Supreme Commander, his ship now powerless, sent a final message: surrender now or we will sterilize your planet when our backup systems activate. Admiral Yoon, commanding the Resistance Naval Forces, replied with words that would become famous: we don't do that here. The Calvari never got the chance to carry out their threat. With their ships disabled, they were vulnerable to the weapons humans had been developing in secret. Missiles launched from submarines hit key vessels. Hastily modified spaceplanes attacked others directly. By sunset, the Calvari fleet was in ruins. On the ground, their forces found themselves cut off from command and surrounded by increasingly confident human fighters. Within days, the aliens began to surrender. Some fought to the end, but most recognized their defeat when their commander's ship exploded in orbit. 1 month later, the last Calvari stronghold fell. Earth had won its first interstellar war. As President Choi surveyed the liberation of Washington, D.C., she turned to General Kong. Send a message to the Concorde. Tell them Earth is ready to talk as equals. 3 months after the defeat of the Calvari, the Concorde ships returned to Earth orbit. This time, they sent a request for permission before entering Earth's space. President Choi met with world leaders to decide how to respond. We should allow them to land, she said. But on our terms. The meeting place was neutral ground, a newly built platform in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Earth's United Defense Forces surrounded the area, showing their new weapons openly. Ambassador Tail looked different when he stepped from his ship. His tall form seemed smaller somehow, less confident. With him came representatives from 12 other species, members of the Concorde leadership. The Galactic Concorde acknowledges humanity's right to self-governance, Tail announced, his voice lacking its former condescension. We wish to establish proper diplomatic relations. President Choi stood tall despite being physically shorter than the alien diplomats. Earth accepts the Concorde's request for diplomatic relations as equals. The treaty signing took 4 days. Humans insisted on clear language that recognized Earth's sovereign control of the solar system. The Concorde agreed to provide reparations for the Mars station destruction and the Calvari invasion. Most importantly, Earth gained access to the galactic knowledge networks. Information about faster-than-light travel, advanced medicine, and clean energy poured into human computers. You understand we've never added a level 2 civilization to the Concorde before, Ambassador Tail told President Choi during a private meeting. Your species' rapid advancement from primitive to space-capable is concerning to some council members. President Choi smiled. Perhaps those council members should be concerned. Within 1 year, humans had built their first true starship using adapted Concorde technology. Named Phoenix, it combined alien science with human innovation in ways that surprised the Concorde engineers. They've improved the efficiency of the drive system, one Concorde scientist reported to Ambassador Tail. They shouldn't have been able to do that. Tail had learned enough about humans to understand. They approach problems differently. They don't follow established patterns. Earth formed a united planetary defense force with soldiers from every nation. American military officers took many leadership positions, having proven their ability during the Calvary War, but every country contributed. Admiral Yoon became the first commander of Earth's defense fleet. When the Phoenix made its first test flight to Mars, he personally planted a flag at the site of the destroyed research station. Never again, he said in a broadcast watched by billions on Earth. Never again will anyone think humans are easy targets. The Concorde Council invited Earth to send its first official ambassador to the galactic headquarters. After much discussion, they selected Dr. Bay, whose understanding of alien technology had helped save humanity. Dr. Bay arrived at the massive space station that served as the Concorde capital. Thousands of alien species moved through its corridors. Some looked almost human. Others were utterly different, crystalline beings, gaseous creatures in special containers, entities of pure energy. In the Great Hall, Dr. Bay addressed the Concorde Council. Behind her stood a small team of human advisors, representing Earth's diversity. Humanity comes seeking friendship, she began, her voice calm and clear. But we will not accept subjugation. Earth stands ready to join galactic civilization as equals, nothing less. The council chamber fell silent. Then, surprisingly, a small delegation from the back approached. These were representatives of the Marani, a species that had been under Concorde protection for centuries. We wish to establish direct relations with Earth, their leader said. We believe we have much to learn from each other. Ambassador Tail watched with growing concern as other subordinate species approached the humans. The old order was changing. Later that day, Dr. Bay met with the Marani delegation. How did you do it? The Marani asked. How did you defeat the Calvary when your technology was so far behind? Dr. Bay smiled. We're adaptable. When one approach fails, we try another. And we never give up. Word spread quickly through the Concorde. Humans were different. They fought differently. They thought differently. And they were willing to share their methods with others. On dozens of worlds, oppressed species began to look toward Earth with new hope. They began to whisper a phrase that would become famous throughout the galaxy. And then the Americans arrived. Back on Earth, President Choi reviewed plans for the next generation of starships. These would be faster, more powerful, designed not just for defense but for exploration. The galaxy is more complex than we imagined, she told her advisors. But humanity is ready for the challenge. As the sun set over the White House, rebuilt after the invasion, she looked up at the stars with new understanding. Earth was no longer alone. And it would never be helpless again. And then the Americans arrived, top HFY Sci-Fi Stories Reddit favorites.